Heart first leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast. Welcome back to another Impact Makers episode. I'm Heidi Sawyer, one of your hosts, interviewing your other host, Ryan Sawyer, my husband. And we've been doing these Impact Maker episodes where we were interviewing people who have had life experiences that have led them to see a hole in the universe, to see a problem that they can uniquely solve, to see a way that they can make an impact and help and be of service in the world. And we've had some really powerful conversations with others about the impact that they're making. And kind of as this was coming about, Ryan had someone reach out to him and let him know that they were reading his book, Choice Point, and that it was really impactful to hear his story and to hear some of the things that he's overcome in his journey. And so we thought, let's do an Impact Makers. And I said, let me interview you. And we'll have a conversation and just kind of share a little bit more about Ryan's story here. So Ryan, welcome.
This is weird.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to your own podcast. So yeah, no, this, I'm going to be completely transparent here for a moment. I'm excited about, kind of coming full circle and coming back to the book a little bit, coming back to the story. But I do feel a ton of resistance right now about passing the mic to you completely. Like I'm usually the one in control of everything, right? So just like, oh gosh, she knows all the details. So where is she going to take me here today? Like she's not going to let me stay on the surface. So I'm a little bit scared, a little bit nervous and excited all at the same time. So I'm going to go ahead and just transmute those emotions. This is partly what I'm going to transmute it. I'm going to feel it fully. And then I'm going to turn it into excitement and joy and purpose and meaning. So here we go. I'm ready.
Okay. So let's just start by talking a little bit about your book, Choice Point. Okay. Break the cycle of self-sabotage, accelerate your growth, and realize your true potential. Show the book here for anyone watching on YouTube. This is the book. On the back of the book, you say, in each moment, we have a choice to continue to let our past dictate our future or to choose to write a new story that serves our greatest good. So when you talk about your past and letting your past dictate your future, you're speaking from experience. And our past experiences often lead us to the greater impact that we're here to make. So I want to have you share just a little bit about your past experience and how that's led you to find a hole in the universe that you see or a way that you can make an impact and use your wisdom, your lessons to help others. So give us a little bit of background.
Yeah. So it's interesting as you even put that cover up. I'm like, oh, look at that sunrise. We should get up there and catch a sunrise one of these days. I missed that spot. And I haven't picked up this book in a long time. To be honest with you, I've been so focused on everything else that we're doing in life that I haven't even looked at it in, it's by at least a year. So this is interesting. So, my past. So if I go all the way back, and I'm going to do this a little bit slowly and with a lot of grace and patience for myself, because since I haven't revisited this much, I'm noticing some pain that's coming up right now. So it's interesting. I didn't realize it was still there. So, I go back to when I was probably 13 years old. I didn't know it was abnormal how much anxiety I experienced, and I didn't tell anybody. I had a certain image as a young football player being raised, by wonderful parents on this farm, but very tough, right? Very hardworking, and then two older brothers who were successful. I didn't realize it was abnormal to go days with not being able to eat, or be able to keep food down, or just experiencing incredible amounts of self-doubt and really beating myself up. I could feel like there's nothing that I could do right, even though, the starter and played in every single game for whatever sport I ever played. And so it progressed into the point where and I'm going to just kind of timeline things if that's okay. When I was probably 17 or 18, right around that age frame, I dipped into one of my very first, very deep, dark places of depression and contemplated suicide and even planned it and began to execute. But at the very last moment, kind of pulled the wheel. It was in my vehicle, right? Unbuckled my seat belt and found a long stretch in a parking lot and headed for a light pole. So that led to this even, a roller coaster for the next, 15, 20 years or so, right? And highs and lows, multiple times going to the doctor, therapist, asking for help, not really receiving help. People who, even you thought should be able to help you or have some sort of insight or some sort of feedback or how to handle it really didn't have any sort of tools other than, count to 10 was one of, I think, the best tools I received. A little bit of therapy worked a little bit, on and off medication. 10 years of my life, legitimately through my 20s, was completely sleep deprived, would go 3, 4, 5 days without sleeping and then crash. And I also was riding a roller coaster of I like to have a good time. So there was, now looking back on it, I could easily see that was me, buffering, avoiding, denying. And the only time that if you saw me on a Friday night, you would think this guy's the life of the party. He's full of joy. But it was an act, it was a mask, and I was hiding. And the thing that I now know, and even you mentioned to me, is through that whole time, I realized I created a version of me that was phenomenal at suffering, phenomenal of suffering alone, of being in this internal turmoil of I mean, not that I didn't believe in myself. I mean, I still was successful, right? I ran in my mid 20s. I ran a painting company when I left coaching for the first time, and then got an opportunity to get back into college coaching and went right back in. But in that first year of coaching back at Central in 2007, that was, I can't, whatever age I was at that time, but I was still not sleeping. It was pushing myself to extreme levels and, to be successful, to grind, to achieve, to overcome, to whatever. And, so carry the story forward. We meet in 2008, we get married in 2011. We won the national championship at Eastern Washington in 2010, just before that. And so everything out there looks good still, right? Even you had no idea until we then, the accumulation of the stress of coaching college football, of having a marriage that was, trending in a downward, kind of unconscious pattern, and having 2 kids then at home a few years later, right? 2012, Colt was born. 2014, Haley was born. And in that time frame, I was like, now I'm in this turmoil where the only thing that ever made sense to me was football. The only thing that ever made sense to me was being a part of a team and, being a part of that roller coaster and working 100-hour weeks and, celebrating after wins and, whatever, right? That whole life of always on. And I wasn't on, I was all the way off. And there was nothing in between, because I couldn't handle anything that seemed balanced or that seemed quote unquote normal or boring. I would have told you that's for a boring person or a normal person. That's not me. I'm a this, I'm a that, right? So very identified with the things that I had placed in my life that distracted me from the inner turmoil.
So Ryan, was this a point in your story where you wrote this paragraph in the book that under the title "Hiding in the Darkness"?
I don't know. Why don't you read it to me?
Because it looks like, I haven't picked up this book for a while either, but it's kind of right before everything came to light and I discovered that you were suffering and that you were doing a really good job at hiding it.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read this paragraph. This is at the top of page 9. It's dark and lonely. My eyes feel heavy. My shoulders are hunched. I feel like I'm on the verge of tears. I'm not worthy of anything. The world is better off without me. If I wake up tomorrow feeling like this, I'm ending it.
We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
Yeah, so that was legitimately the same day that you found me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, wow. Look at that. That's what I teach my clients. Huh, look at that. So, it's real, you guys. This human experience is not always rainbows and unicorns. So when we're talking about the day that you found me was, for, I don't know, a couple of years or so, the inner turmoil got harder, got worse. The anxiety got more intense. The depression got deeper and longer periods of time, what once lasts for days, then weeks, then was eventually lasting for months. And it was this very clear to me, like, oh, it's just going to keep getting darker. There's no way out of this. There's no hope, right? No matter how beautiful my wife, my kids are, my home is, we had just built a brand new home. I have a successful career where, all the possibilities are on the horizon, but yet inside it's getting darker and denser and more constricted. And I'm doing the dishes one evening, and I don't remember exactly what time of year it was, but it doesn't matter. And and that's when I was doing these kind of normal things like showering or doing the dishes or driving, these things that didn't take a lot of conscious effort. That's when my life was the hardest, right? When I was in the film room, where I'm on a football field with a whistle around my neck and I'm having the guys hit the sled and I'm fully in that, like there was nothing. I was completely free in those moments. So then it was about how many moments can I create that are like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the answer. It's like we can't live that way. And so anyway, I'm doing
busy enough, right?
Just keep yourself so busy. Like I had a client the other day tell me I'm tired of trying to outwork my problems. And like that's what it was. I would just work harder. I would train harder. I would whatever harder, anything, just be harder, right? Which I just anyway. That's not it is an answer for some people at some point in time, like, hey, it's time to get hard. And I know there's people out there who live that pattern, that lifestyle of like, oh, I'm struggling, it's time to get hard. Yeah, there's a time and a place to grind and get hard, but it's not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable. So it was getting harder to get hard, right? Even though, anyway, so I'm doing the dishes and, here comes a panic attack, and what that felt like, if I would go back and try to re-experience it, is basically completely shutting off any access you have to your throat, right? Like you're being choked and a tightness, a heaviness, a rock in your chest. And eventually I started to lose my vision. Like it was it. Like, this is it. Like I'm going down. Right. And so I legitimately couldn't reach to turn off the water, and I go to the ground and I crawl across the kitchen to the other room. And, I curl up in a ball waiting for it to pass, because these things were coming from time to time, but usually it was in the morning when I was in bed, when I had these massive panic attacks. And so I could lay there curled up in a fetal position and I could hide, right? So no one would know. And a couple of times it happened, like in my football office, and I could just close and lock the door, right? I could just let it pass. It would take 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. It would pass. This one, it's not passing, and I'm curled up, and I can't move. If I try to move, it just become unbearable. And you walk around the corner because you hear the sink running. I'm assuming, and you're like, "What the hell? What are you doing?" Right? And so at this point, I have to, you know, it's hard to lie about, like, why are you curled up in a ball? Are you sick? Well, no, not necessarily. I don't have a stomach flu or something like that. And so on and on and on. We don't have to go down that whole story, but that was the beginning of us being in the conversation, of leading to the realization that something has to change,
Mm-hmm.
and about that same time, I was already losing weight because I started to really look at my health and my well-being when you got pregnant with Colton. Right. So in that time frame, I had lost, a bunch of weight. And
Mm-hmm.
so that transformation was beginning, but even though we had bought a new house or built a house and I lost a bunch of weight, and then eventually I leave coaching in 2015 and, whatever, like, still the internal domain was still.
Yeah. So let's just talk about how all of these external factors are the things. These are so often what we hear from clients is like, I need to get healthy. I need to lose weight. I need to change my job. I need to change my relationship. I need a different home. All of these things outside of us are the puzzle pieces that we try to fix to be okay inside. Mm-hmm. And what I'm hearing you saying is like, okay, you lost 70 pounds. Mm-hmm. That's not just like a little weight loss. That's a huge physical transformation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it didn't change anything internally.
I didn't just lose 90 pounds. Like, I was in the best shape of my life. I could do 90 burpees in 5 minutes. Like, I was an animal, right? Mm-hmm. In that realm. And, but no, I didn't change the thing. It actually made it worse.
Yeah, because
you got the thing, right? Right. I'm sorry, go ahead. You were going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because it is kind of that expectation hangover where, okay, now I've got it, and dang it, I don't feel the way I thought I would feel when I had it.
Wait a minute. I got the thing. I got the job. Right. I got the wife. I got the kids. I got the house. I got the body. I got this. I got the that. And okay, yeah. I'm supposed to feel a certain way right now. I thought that all of these years that once I got somewhere, then I would be okay. Mm-hmm. Right? And that's when I, continue to seek outside. And we've done other episodes about that part of the story, but, continue to seek outside for other relationships, for whatever. Right. And just continue to put myself in a deeper and deeper and darker hole.
Yeah. And as long as we think that the answer is outside of us, we will continue to seek something outside of us to try to change what's happening internally. So I want to hear a little bit about the kind of the turning point, or how you made incremental shifts and how you gradually started to have an internal transformation, because obviously trying to change things on the outside would only get you so far, and it wasn't working.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you don't mind me answering the question, we did it here. We already answered this question, and I'm going to answer before I go into that. And maybe you had it in mind, a different thing, but like, this is exactly what I see as a whole, is that we become so attached to our outcomes, to our roles. We're so outwardly focused as a society on competition, on sports, on achievement, on, and the reality is no one's going to care when you're 25 years old, how fast you ran, or how high you could jump, or how far you could throw the football, or whatever, how accurate you were, whatever, how fast you could throw a pitch, or whatever.
Right.
And we are led to this lack of meaning in life. And so legitimately it came down to the shift came down to me asking the question that I think we all should ask, right? A series of questions that we all should ask. And Mary Ann, in our last podcast that we just posted just yesterday, said it comes down to the questions that we ask. Right. And then being very, very open and curious about where that's going to lead us. And so, okay, so what's the point? What's the point of all this? Like, why am I here? And who am I? Like, those three questions.
Yeah.
What's the point of this? Why am I suffering? Because the thing that made me feel the most guilty is I didn't have a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have my parents didn't get divorced as a kid. There wasn't any loss other than like a grandparent or two, right? That's natural, right? I had achieved everything I had ever set out to achieve.
Yeah, I mean, you're a white male in our society, right? That's as privileged as it gets.
I'm not overly.
Yeah.
It wasn't ever easy for me. But if I set my mind to something, I did it. Right.
Right.
That's it.
So yeah, that's interesting. Experiencing guilt, like, what do I have to feel this way about? Because there's no explanation in my life for something that has, quote unquote, gone wrong or
Right. Well, that's
a problem.
It's one of the chapters in the book is growing guilt, and it's this idea that I legitimately felt guilty for feeling guilty. And it just compounded. And so the turning point was that I realized, oh, okay, I don't know. Because, when you're quote unquote successful out there and, whether it's winning football games or whether it's whatever aspect of life, like I kind of figured I had life figured out a little bit. I figured out how to be tough. I knew how to this, I had that, right? And I legitimately came to a place like, okay, I'm going to question everything. Mm-hmm. I'm going to approach life with what now we call a beginner's mind, like where I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it was this seeking to answer those questions.
Mm. That brings me to one of my favorite parts in the book, as you began to seek answers to these sort of existential questions, right? Like, why am I here? What's the point of this? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of on page 23 when you're in the in this section of the book called "Why Did That Work?"
Yeah,
and you said, you're going to take this pain and you're going to transmute it. You're going to transform. There has got to be some sort of positive thing that can come out of all of this. Mm-hmm. And it reminds me of one of my favorite stories about the person. I think you met this person through like a networking group, or you were having coffee with this person. And so can you tell that story? Because I think it's really...
Yeah. So it was another B&I connection when I was in Business Network International for my painting company when I was in my... when we just first left coaching and we're here and we're actually at her house, ironically, because I came over to do a one-on-one with her. Like we get to know each other better, and she wanted her house painted as well, but it was an older home that we don't do. And anyway, we're sharing our stories, right? That's kind of what you do to like build rapport with these people who helped pass you business, and we're sharing our stories. So she shares her story. I'm sharing my story. And so I kind of, when I was a coach, and then this is why I left, and this is kind of my story. And I was at a time then when I was still very attached to this idea that the depression was me and mine, and I have anxiety, right? And I'm finding a way to just deal with it and manage it. And in that point in time, I still believed that sooner or later, the depression was going to win. Sooner or later, it was going to take me, right? I believed that wholeheartedly. But I was also in this place where I had made a commitment to myself. I was going to remove the possibility of me ending it. Mm-hmm. And I was for you and for the kids. And I was going to go as far as I had to go to figure it out. And it really wasn't about me at this point in time. It was about if my kids were to battle or have the same battle, like I wanted to have better answers than I received. That's what it was about. I wanted to be able to help it make sense to somebody that was suffering. Because when it doesn't make sense, it feels like it's never going to end. Yeah. So anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm telling her my story. And she goes, "Oh, depression? That's easy." So I'm telling her my story about how I've battled with depression for the majority of my life and these roller coasters and whatever else. And she goes, "Oh, that's easy." And I remember thinking this just well of like anger, right? Like how dare you tell me what I'm experiencing is easy, right? All you got to do is ask yourself 3 times, speak it out loud like you really mean it. Why am I so happy? Why am I so happy? Why am I so happy? And so I wrapped up that conversation within like 5 minutes after that, because I can't even be in the same room with this person if she's, just completely like brushing my suffering underneath the rug. Like and I was in this place where I wanted people to know, now that I was like looking at it to some degree, I wanted people to know how hard it was in there. Right?
Yeah.
That doesn't matter.
Marianne talked about that in the last podcast with her grief. She said, you want people to know how bad you're hurting, but they can never understand unless they experienced it. Mm-hmm.
And it made me realize that I wanted that when I heard her say that. And so anyway, I'm driving away and I'm pissed, and I'm like, how dare she? Right. And now from this level of mind, I'm looking back at that. I think it's funny, but anyway, I'm how dare she? And so I'm like, well, Ryan, you committed. You said you'd do whatever it takes and you would try anything and you wouldn't act like you knew. So let's go, Ryan. Let's go. And I'm in my truck and I'm driving away and in my painting clothes, and I can see it like it's yesterday. And I said, all right, why am I so happy? Why am I so happy? Why am I so happy? I say it 3 times, kind of like that, and I'm like, that's not it. I heard this little voice in my head going, that's not it, man. She said, you got to do it. Like with a smile on your face, you got to say it loud, like you mean it. So I did it with a little higher tone, a little higher vibration. Nothing. Right. And I'm like, I don't know. And again, this little voice comes up and goes, that's still not it, man. You're not going all in. You're holding back. Right? You're putting your toe in the water, dude. Jump in. Right. And I'm like, all right. So I just belted out. I think I even lowered my window down and just yelled it and smiled and just absolutely. And I noticed this moment, what we now call a glimpse of goodness, and this moment of relief. And it lasted for seconds, but for seconds, a few seconds, there was space. Yeah. There was a sense of freedom. There was a moment where I wasn't in inner turmoil. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so then I was like, well, what the hell was that? Like, why did that work? I need to know why that worked. Because if that worked beyond just toxic positivity, and I didn't even know that term back then, but I just needed to know why that worked. Because if I understood why, if I had the knowledge, which is a major component to transformation, once you know what you're doing, then the technique becomes much more powerful of how to do it. Right. Mm-hmm. So I actually just wrote about knowledge and technique yesterday. That's funny. Anyway, so I was like, who out there would be able to teach me why that worked? Mm-hmm. And that's when somebody who I had thought was a little too eccentric for me to be friends with and just he's kind of just out there a little bit. Right. And I thought, you know what? That goofy guy, he might know something. He might, and he just seems to be at this high vibration and happy and just like for no reason necessarily. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I reached out to him. I said, hey man, this is Ken Close. If you're listening, Ken, hello, buddy. I said, there's something that that I think that I need to know in this journey of mine. Would you mind having coffee with me? And that turned into obviously a friendship for years, but then it turned into something we met every single week. He formed a mastermind, which I joined, and we, down the rabbit hole we went. I mean, we started studying neuroscience and Dr. Joe Dispenza and epigenetics. And that led me to the next, to Michael Singer, the idea of surrender. I mean, and I just, every single time I learned something, and this is the collective mentors chapter of the book, right? It felt like it just led me to the next and led me to the next and led me to the next. And I got every single answer that I was ever looking for. Right. And I'm continuously still going deeper and deeper every single day. And I'm never going to stop, because
this kind of leads into my other question of, you see this hole that people are looking externally to try to fix what's going on inside. Right.
Yeah.
And so it's the next 2 questions that I have is, tell me more. Tell everyone else. I mean, obviously I know more about what you're doing, but tell me more about what you're doing to fill it. But also tell me, and you're starting to do this naturally, who did you need to become and what kinds of practices and mindset did you have to go from where you were there? And you talked about mentorship a little bit and how that was curiosity was kind of that first step in going, okay, why did that work? Admitted before that by saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to figure this out.
Yeah.
But then there was still this underlying belief that I'm saying I'm going to figure it out, but I still feel like this is never going to end.
Well,
and you had that glimpse of goodness.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was going to end for me. It still wasn't about me until I had a moment where I realized I was no longer running away from pain, but I was pursuing the light.
Mm-hmm.
Man, Marianne's podcast was so transformational for me to record with her because she said something profound. Like she said, she turned to the light. And I remember the day, the time, and the place, and where I was, everything about the moment in time that I just decided to stop fighting, stop resisting. I mean, we're always fighting, but stop resisting the resistance.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't supposed to get this emotional today, Heidi. I'm supposed to have it all together, right?
Yeah, so, well, you're human still.
The whole, let's start with that just for a minute, a bit more. So the whole that I see goes far beyond this idea that we are too outwardly focused. We're focusing on the wrong thing. Let's just put it that way. We're focusing on the wrong thing. And we're teaching our environments to focus on the wrong thing. And our sense of worth then gets placed in these things that do not last when it comes to our sense of being okay. And then they don't lead to happiness. And we spend the majority of our lives, or years anyway, potentially, or the whole life, thinking that if we can just get the next to the next to the next, and it's a natural state of our mind is to always want more, And so to legitimately, the whole that I see is we don't understand our minds. We don't understand being human. We don't understand what it means when we say the word consciousness, like that there's this underlining thing happening running through all aspects of life. It's so fundamental to being human. And we think it's more important to make sure that the kids in our schools know timetables and what a noun and a verb is. And I'm saying in my adult life, that has never mattered once. Mm-hmm. Not even for a split second. I've built multiple companies and have a successful life and marriage and whatever else. And everything and those things are important. I'm not saying they're not. And so if you're a teacher, I love you. Thank you for what you do. You're amazing. But there's this level of knowledge about being human that is just, it's like it's hidden in circles. Mm-hmm. And it creates this level of separation where we as humans feel alone and we don't understand our experience of what we're experiencing. So then we attach to it and we identify with it. And then now we are the thing, we are the depression, and we are the role, we are the college football coach, or we, and then we just try to change everything out there to try to be okay in here. And the reality is, if we can come to a place where we just understand the human experience, we just understand how our mind, the nature of our mind, and how to learn how to be with, become familiar with, and learn how to practice to train, not just train our mind, but to legitimately allow for our mind to do what it naturally is going to do. And which will, if we know what it's doing and we let it do what it naturally is meant to do, it will actually lead us to freedom. So this is the tweak that I wish I even knew when we wrote the program a year ago. It's something I've gained in the last year of my studies, is that like we think we need to train our mind. It's not some forceful thing. And so I'm kind of answering your questions, both of them at the same time. Like the whole that I see is that we don't understand. We don't understand what we're experiencing. We don't understand that we're not our thoughts. We don't understand that we're not our body. We don't understand that it's us resisting what we're thinking and feeling that causes the extra turmoil, that causes the surface chop of the ocean to become even more kicked up, right? That then we think that we need to get out there and get a bigger boat to handle the waves. Like, no,
right.
you need to sail. You just need to stop resisting the wind. You are the wind. Let's put it that way, right? You're on top of the ocean. There's waves, there's currents, there's things happening. And then when we resist the waves and the currents, we kick up the wind. And what happens when you're on the ocean? If you've ever been on the ocean, I've spent a lot of time on the ocean. Whenever the wind kicks up, it's like, you see whitecaps, and whitecaps turn into bigger waves. And then the next thing you know, your boat's getting capsized or whatever, getting pushed around. You can't control it, right? And that's the experience of being on the surface of the mind. So we don't understand it. Here's what happened when I began to understand the mind. And even just today, like legitimately, I let the mind do what the mind's going to do, which is for it to relieve stress. Thoughts and emotions are stress, right? And so I let it do what it's going to do. And it naturally cleanses itself. And then my nervous system comes into balance. And then my next thought is one of purity. And so therefore my next action is one of right action. And so then the result becomes beautiful. But if we don't have the basic principles and practices and awareness of how to do that, then we stay on the surface and we just think that we need to get a bigger boat to handle the bigger waves. And then the wind blows harder and it's a no-win. It's a no-win scenario. So what we do now, what I am doing is attempting to equip, first of all, myself, right, and my family, and then my teams, and my community and anybody who comes our way with the understanding and the knowledge of some very basic principle of what it means to be human, to understand how these basic human needs play into our experience, how the nature of the mind is, to always want more. And so how we can use that for good, how we can actually use the mind to guide it towards more of the absolute, of pure being, of absolute bliss. Like you can learn how to guide your mind towards incredible, beautiful things. Mm-hmm. We call it training the mind, but really it's just getting the hell out of the way. Mm-hmm. What it is, it's letting go, it's surrendering. And so we have created, after, these years of seeking and mentorship and from, 7 different certifications that I ended up, or whatever it is, I don't even know what it is anymore, but yoga to this, to that, to unbeatable mind, to, working with neuroscience specialists, all the different things that we did was to gain a deeper and deeper understanding. We ended up now having a 10-week course that we teach and facilitate. And then we have other stuff that goes beyond that legitimately at the end of the day teaches people 2 different things: to become familiar with, right? When you become familiar with, you stop judging. And it allows for us, you, me, and anybody else as a human being to stop feeling so separate. Like I see the commonality with us more than I see the difference. And I know, no matter, we all have our unique story. We all have our unique experience. We all have a unique, background and ethnicity and everything else. But legitimately, I see more of what brings us together, what makes us the same in common than I see anything else. Mm-hmm. Because I understand the human experience better now today. I'm not saying I understand it perfectly, but I understand it better now today than I did yesterday. Right. And that's my goal. Right. And that's my goal, is to continue to understand the human experience better each day than I did the day before. So I teach people how we here at Integrated Human Performance or Integrated Mindset teach people how to understand it, to let go, to legitimately become familiar with. And when you become familiar with something, you're able to learn how to stop judging it, which allows for you to accept and let go. Yeah. And then the second piece of that is to be learning how to shift towards possibility, right? Because when the mind becomes completely clear and decluttered, because you're no longer resisting its natural tendencies, like then your mind becomes this incredible workshop. But legitimately, you can suggest to it whatever you want. You can suggest to it the experiences you want, what you want to create, what you want to, whatever. And then you can learn how to lean into those types of things where you can create. This is my favorite definition of meditation. You can create an internal domain that's independent of your external circumstances. Mm-hmm.
And you've been able to teach these tools to so many people, including, testimonials that we've got from clients that you've worked with that were in that same place. They were in that dark place, and you were able to say, yeah, I've been there. So come along and let me show you and let me help you understand some of this stuff.
Yeah, for a long time, when you were the one who encouraged me to write the book and all these things, and a lot of this process of creating the podcast, all this stuff is I've always, kind of wanted to support people who were in that same place I was in before, but I wasn't ready.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ready, and I'm not a therapist, and I don't want to be. I'm just a guy who has learned how to liberate himself. And then I was curious 3 or 4 years ago if what I have learned in the progression that which I learned it, would it work for somebody else? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we wrote the book and then I started helping one person. And the first person who I helped was a young man who had struggled for a good stretch of time, a good 7 years or so, I think, and had been on multiple different medications and all these things. And legitimately, he tells the story, within 6 weeks of practice and principle, he began to completely liberate himself. And now he talks about this overflowing sense of peace and well-being that is independent of his external circumstances. He's free. And that's what we all want. We all want to be free. I want to be free. You want to be free. I want other people to realize they can be free from the bondage of the mind.
Mm.
And that's
people ask us all the time, who's the program for?
Yes.
Who's integrated mindset for? It's literally for everyone.
Are you human?
Yes. Are you human and do you want something to be different in your life than it is?
Suffer from your mind, the thoughts or the emotions in your body. Do those things cause disturbances in your life, in your relationships, or in your business?
Mm-hmm.
If they do, this will help.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the larger vision and mission that you have now.
Oh, boy. Well, it is to do this organically, first of all, to do this from the inside out, right? For number one, for me to continue to commit to my own practice and for me to stay the course, to continuously liberate myself further, knowing that that is the catalyst for other people around me to experience more sense of freedom and to be able to learn how to liberate themselves, whether it be my kids, my wife, and beyond. And, I can sit here and tell you that I have a vision to have, from a business perspective, but they have a vision to have all kinds of coaches and being global and all these things. Sure. But would I really sit back and ask that question? All that kind of lands rather flat, to be completely honest with you. I'm not attached to it. That's part of the practice that we teach, right? I have this internal domain that's independent of the external circumstances. So the business can turn out however it's going to turn out, however it's supposed to turn out. But I just want to know that somebody, and it starts with one person. I know multiple people have, a lot of people have, but I just continue to have that mindset that maybe one more person
mm-hmm.
that we could teach one more person. I'm not doing anything. We aren't doing anything. We are not even coaches.
Mm-hmm.
We're just teaching practices and principles so you yourself can lead yourself towards your own liberation, towards your own sense of freedom. And this will then show up in your business, your relationship, your marriage, your life, your parenthood, all the things, right? And so legitimately, my vision is that today, can I help one person feel just a little bit more free?
Mm-hmm.
Can I help one person teach themselves how to feel more free?
Yeah.
And that's it. And knowing that will then create a ripple effect where that one person will impact another 100, or some people say one impacts 1,000. Who cares? Whatever. One person impacts 100, one person impacts 1,000. So that's it. The vision is that, okay, then tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to see if there's who's ready to learn how to liberate themselves, who is either in such a place that They don't know what's next. They don't know where to turn. So they turn towards some random guy who's got a podcast. Right. And that's how even one of my clients said it. He's like, all these years of therapy and these things. And then on one day, this random guy shows up. Right.
You were the random guy, huh?
Actually, I have a book idea that we might play with one of these days when there's a little bit more time, where there's that random guy walking onto a job site. Right. And,
yeah.
And then he teaches, the conversations lead towards this awareness and this information that then helps to liberate the soul.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it, is knowing, and then that one person will go impact 1,000 or beyond.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Or even one.
Even just one. Well, meaning that person impacts one, and then that person impacts one, and
right.
each person impacts 1,000 because of the ripple effect. Like that's the vision.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons I love working with parents, because there's just such a direct impact on the children.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, again, that's the thing where we become, parenthood is one where we become very outwardly focused. We see our child struggling. We see our child not being confident or battling with something internally or being too attached to certain outcomes. Just even last night, my daughter crawls in bed all upset about something that happened at school where she felt like she fell short. And I'm like, okay, well, I can sit here and try to console her. Right. And even looking back on it now, I probably could have done a better job of taking a look within you and me and saying like, oh, how are we potentially still beating ourselves up a little bit that things aren't perfect, right? Things aren't where they supposed to be, right? Or whatever. Mm-hmm. And to come back into a very, very peaceful place of acceptance and learning how to lean into the next moment with incredible sense of grace and confidence, that knowing that we can, create a different and new experience. But she's, 9 years old and she's learning how to do that. Right. And those disturbances are for her to learn how to do that. Right. And so my responsibility in that moment is to not make it mean something about me, that she's having a disturbance, which is what most of us do. Naturally, when our wife or our husband or our kids or our friend or our parents or whatever, they're going through a hard time, they're having a moment of disturbance, we then turn around and make that mean something about us. Mm-hmm. Right. And what even Marianne said the other day was something that said, if you're not okay, then don't be around me. Like that we make that mean that I'm not a good parent.
Right.
It has nothing to do with that. That person's having the disturbance they need to have to learn how to liberate themselves.
Right. And you have to allow them to have it.
And so my job in that moment is to co-regulate, is to legitimately just relax and release into her disturbance, letting her have it. Mm-hmm. And when all of those stuff that we teach and the principles and the practices we teach all come back down to that basic piece of like letting go. Mm-hmm. And not making it mean anything.
So what do you need to do on a daily basis? How do you stay connected to your vision?
Yeah,
because everybody has ideas about the work that they want to do in the world and how to make an impact, but it takes a lot of mundane actions to make things work, right? It takes those daily actions. It takes sitting down and recording a podcast, when you're having resistance come up around what the topic is, right? Right now, we're doing that right now. It takes, getting on the phone with people. It takes putting things out there, to make a vision come to reality, to make an impact. So how do you stay connected to that?
Yeah. What I heard you just saying is it takes action, right? Like information without integration just leads to frustration. Integration happens through action. So, it's first of all, I'm going to say this. How I do that today is not how I did it 2 years ago or 5 years ago, right? I did it how I used to do it was where I was. And sometimes that was, 5 minutes of sitting in the dark and just being still, And I'm gonna simplify this down to saying I start each day with intention. And that's it. Because if we don't live a life of intention, we're living a life of chance.
Yeah. I think you put that in the book, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. And
I flipped right to it. A day without intention is a day left to chance.
did you really just flip to it?
Yeah, life is a practice.
Yeah. So that's it, and legitimately in each moment. So it doesn't have to look like my practice looks, you guys. Like, it's about choice. It's about each moment we have a choice of what we're going to make that moment mean.
Mm-hmm.
And by making it mean what we choose and how we choose to respond to that moment, we are conditioning ourselves to a new experience. We are conditioning ourselves and our body and our nervous system and the neurocircuitry of our brain to perceive something different, to see opportunity, to see potential, to see the gift, to learn the lesson, to see the good thing in somebody else. Like, I love this concept. I learned the top 3 aspects of being a leader.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Number 1 was to cleanse your own lens. Right. Number 2 was to focus on the good in others. And then number 3 was to teach others, to share with others how to cleanse their lens.
Yeah.
Like, let's make it simple. And that's it. Right. So when I say I start the day with intention, like, that's it. I start the day doing the best I know how to cleanse my lens.
Mm-hmm.
And then I try to see the good. Right.
Yeah.
And I can sit here and tell you that I journal for 45 minutes and I do hot, sauna and cold exposure and yoga, and I work out and I do meditate. And none of that matters. That's all somebody's own journey to find those practices and to layer them in. And it starts with 2 minutes and then 5 minutes. And the next thing you know, you have a 3-hour morning routine. But I cleanse my lens. I am committed to not allowing for the murky waters that naturally happen when we resist the mind. I learn how to become very familiar with the mind, and I learn to cleanse my lens better every single day. And then I try to see the good in myself, in you, in the world. And then I hope to be able to share with somebody else how to cleanse their lens. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been a powerful conversation.
I hope it turned out okay. I don't know.
It's been incredibly powerful to revisit the story, sort of the origin story of sorts, to take a look at the book again. And anybody who's listening or watching this that has not checked out the book, this is a great place to start. Your goal, I remember when you were writing it, was to really distill it down to something that, like, however many years ago, who never read a book, outside of school for pleasure or for personal development, let alone like that person could pick up the book and get something from it and have actionable steps that they can take, because there are a ton of tools that you share in the back of the book as well. It's really inspiring. I remember when COVID happened, it was 2020, and our business, our residential painting company, got shut down, and you went in the basement and you wrote this book. And it takes that kind of action, to bring something to fruition. And I have so much love and respect and admiration for you. And now I'm getting emotional, but I just can't wait to see so many more lives impacted by the work that we get to do.
Yeah.
It's like such a privilege. So
that choice point piece, that moment when COVID happened, and your job got reduced down to basically next to nothing, and the painting company was non-essential in that 6-week period of time. We didn't know it's going to last 2 weeks or 6 weeks or 6 months or whatever. Like, that was a space that I needed to be able to put this out, and it's interesting to look back for a moment, because I haven't. I've been looking forward so incredibly relentlessly for so long that, we're going to maybe enjoy the rest of today by looking back a little bit more. So.
I'll give you guys also a little fun story behind the cover. So this cover is a picture of the sunrise up at Saltese Flats, where we like to hike a lot. And in 2020, in March of 2020, when everything got shut down, we decided that we needed to do something as a family to continue to keep our spirits bright and to challenge ourselves. And we committed to doing 30 days of sunrise hikes. And this photo is from one of those hikes, which ended up becoming the cover of the book, with Ryan looking out onto the sunrise. And it is such a beautiful reminder that, like, the night is darkest right before the sun rises, and it's just a reminder that whatever we're facing, whatever challenges we're traversing in life, that we always have an opportunity for a choice point. We always have a chance to decide who it is we want to be and the impact that we want to make in the world, and to start taking those little tiny steps in that direction. Just one little incremental shift at a time. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Ryan, for putting this out there. Thank you for being who you are.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having this idea to do this podcast. I wasn't too sure about it. I resisted it quite a bit. And, but hopefully it resonates with somebody. And I would look forward to having a conversation with anybody who's just, wanting to experience a little bit of change, or just wanting to have a shift, and wanting to, experience more peace and joy, or just don't know what's next in your life, or feel lost and feel like there's a lack of meaning and all these things. Like it's natural, and it's natural because, I'm just here to tell you, like, I'm here to shine as big as light and scream from the mountaintops, you guys, that there's hope to learn how to let go and to understand how to use the mind for the good, for your greatest good. That's what I said in the back. Yeah.
Yeah. And so check out the book, share this podcast with somebody, share it on social media, take a screenshot, share it out with somebody, maybe somebody that's struggling a little bit right now. This may be that glimmer of hope, that glimpse of goodness, that, like, hey, if somebody else like Ryan can do it, then maybe I can do it too. And then just want to say just thank you for listening to the podcast. Thanks for your support. For those of you who leave reviews for the podcast, that means a ton to us. We're doing this because we're passionate about it, and we want to share with more people. We want to make a bigger impact, and we want to see that ripple effect. And you are a part of that. So thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first. Alignment matters, and the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.